Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरम्. Hari Om, salutations to all. Shubh Akshaya Tritiya. In this fourth canto, we are seeing about the four Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And in that, for Dharma portion, we saw the episode of Daksha and Sati. For Artha portion, now we will see the episode of Dhruva. And how interesting it is that today is Akshaya Tritiya, where one buys gold, one does charity. The Char Dhams, they open today. And we are doing this, we are beginning this Dhruva Upakhyan. He started as a devotee wanting the throne, but ultimately attained that which is imperishable. So let us see now Canto 4, Chapter 8. So after explaining about the episode of Daksha and Sati, Maitreya Rishi continues telling Vidurji, he takes a little bit of detour as though to explain some of the creations of Brahmaji. So he says here, Maitreya Uvacha, Sanakadya Naradascha, Ribhurhamso Runeryatihi, Naite Grihan Brahmasuta, Yavasannurdhvaretasaha. So the four Sanat Kumars, Naradji, Ribhu, Hamsa, Aruni and Yati. These are all mind-born sons of Brahmaji. They did not enter a life of a householder. Is Manu, Shatrupa, other Prajapatis, Daksha, all of them, they have taken up household life also and carried forward the creation through their progeny. Some of them they didn't take up here. Those are the names mentioned here. And the word used is Urdhvaretasaha. They are those who live in celibacy or brahmacharya. Urdhvaretas is another term for brahmacharya, whose vital energies flow upwards. So Urdhvaretasaha. Now from Brahmaji we saw different mind-born sons and then Prajapatis, and from there the creation taken forward. But this portion now will also explain about how some of the negative qualities that we see, they are also born. See here. Second verse. Mrisha dharmasya bharyasid dambham mayam cha shatruhan asuta mithunam tattu nirritir jagrihe prajaha. So Mrisha is the female spirit presiding over falsehood, meaning the Devi. Mrisha Devi, who was a wife of Adharma, presiding over unrighteousness, and he is another son of Brahmaji. He gave birth to Dambha. So Mrisha and Adharma gave birth to Dambha. Dambha means false pride. Dambha is the boy and Maya is the girl. So Maya here means deceit. Maya is not that power of Maya of the Supreme Lord. Maya here means deceit. Now the symbolism also one can derive in this, that when there is adharma and falsehood, meaning integrity is not there, truth is not there, falsehood is there. So the combination of adharma and falsehood will give rise to false pride. What one does not have, what does not belong to one, but one will take pride in that. That is called dambha. The ego, superiority complex, or let us say abhiman, that is for what I have. Suppose I am very strong, I am very wealthy, I am very knowledgeable, and I have ego of it. That is called abhiman. But what I don't have, and I have ego of that, and as though I pretend to have it, that is called dambha. So I am not very knowledgeable, but I portray an image of as though I am a very wise person. That is called dambha. Hypocrisy it is. And maya, deceit. So if a person follows adharma and mrisha, falsehood, natural result of that will be hypocrisy and deceit. One example, there can be many. One example, most common, famous one is this Dhritarashtra is a symbol of adharma and falsehood, both. And the result of that is what? Duryodhan, full of dambha and maya. Dambha, maya, and then nriti. Three are children of this dambha and of adharma and mrisha. Dambha, maya, and nriti. So nriti is the demon presiding over the southwest. She was issueless, adopted the couple as his son and daughter-in-law. So not three actually. So Nriti adopted these two, Dambha and Maya. And then from Dambha and Maya are born Lobha and Nikriti. Lobha is greed, Nikriti is wickedness. And of these, Lobha and Nikriti came into being Krodha and Himsa. So anger and violence. From this Krodha and Himsa are Kali and Durukti. Kali here is cunningness, strife, and Durukti, speech which is abusive, vulgar, Durukti. And to Kali and Durukti, Bhaya and Mrityu are born, fear and death. Of fear and death are born Niraya, meaning hell, going to hell, and Yatana, torture, the pain one goes through in hell. So he says, thus briefly I have told you, O Vidurji, about the family of Adharma. Look at the parampara of Adharma. From Adharma and this Mrisha, all these will be born. Meaning what? Simple point to understand is if one follows Adharma, one goes to difficult times, suffering, pain, sorrow, anger, greed, jealousy. So many of these one will go through. Because one started with adharma and falsehood. And here Bhagavan says, Maitreya Rishi says that if one hears this, athata kirtaye vamsham punya kirte kurudvaha swayam bhuvasyapi manor hareramsham shajanmanaha. So he says here that what he's going to explain next, that is what he said in the sixth one. Fifth one, he says, Sangrahena maya khyatah pratisargaha tavanagha trishrutai tatpuman punyam vidhunotyatmano malam. So he says here that whoever hears this entire parampara of this adharma, that will sanctify a person. Meaning what? Just because I hear this, I will get purified. Meaning, if I follow this, when I hear this and I feel that no, I don't want to go through all this. I want my life to be happy, cheerful, peaceful, full of love, compassion, truthfulness. So when one listens to this, then one wants to overcome these. And thrice repeated, if a person repeats this, reflects on this, okay, is this what I want out of life? And for what? The joy is so temporary pleasures. For that, I'm giving up a good quality of life, mental health, and experience after this life also. All I'm losing because of this. So whoever repeats this thrice shakes off the impurity of his mind. Again, obviously, it's not mechanical repetition, it is reflection. Now, of Swayambhu Manu, we saw Devahuti, Prasuti, Akuti, and their lineage we saw. Now, the two sons of Manu, about them, Maitreya Rishi explains. And this Swayambhu Manu, he is born from the right half of Brahmaji. So who are these two sons of? They were mentioned earlier in the earlier chapter when all the three daughters and two sons were mentioned. That time these two were mentioned, but their family, their lineage, what happened in their family, those things were not explained. So that comes up here now. So Priyavrata and Uttanapad, these are two sons of Manu and Shatrupa. And they, of the two now, Uttanapad's story comes up. Now the word Uttanapad is very interesting. Ut means up, Pada means feet. Uttanapada means one whose feet are up. So what kind of a weird person, how can the feet be up? It is not that while living right now his feet are up. That's the etymological meaning of the word Uttanapad, which symbolically means all of us. Jiva, we are the Jiva. Why does it mean all of us? Because generally speaking, we are not talking about exceptions, but generally speaking, when we are in the womb of the mother, we are upside down. And the child, when natural delivery happens or whatever, the child comes out with the head first. So the feet are up. And then the feet come down as we start, growing in life, etc. So all of us are Uttanapad. So this Uttanapad has two wives. Jaye Uttanapadasya Suniti Suruchistayoho. Suruchi Preyasi Patyuhu Netara Yat Suto Dhruvaha. So Suruchi and Suniti, these are the two wives of Uttanapad. Of these two, Suruchi is most dear to him. And the other one, who is Suniti, whose son is Dhruva, this king does not like her much. In fact, he does not even allow her to stay in that same palace. She is in a different palace. This king lives with Suruchi. Suniti is sent away to another palace and she is staying there. Now again, interesting it is. The Jiva likes that which is most delightful to the senses. That is the meaning of Ruchi here. Suruchi means very deeply involved in enjoyment of the senses. fulfilling desires, vasanas, keeping the senses always happy, not bothered whether it is niti or not, whether it is righteousness or not. One becomes a slavish, helpless, dependent on sense pleasures. So that is the condition of this Uttanapad. Means all of us, the Jiva, we are like that. What is good for us, we may not follow. What is pleasurable, we will follow. That matrix one should make. What is both, what is good for us, but what is both good and pleasurable, that is one quadrant. What is pleasurable but not good for us. What is good may not be pleasurable, and what is not good and what is not pleasurable. These four quadrants we have to make. In that, what is good and pleasurable, one may do if it is one's duty. If it's a need, if it's a duty, fine. What is pleasurable, not good, one should learn to reduce the dependence on it and eliminate finally. What is good, not necessarily pleasurable, one may be avoiding that, but one must engage more in that. And what is not good, not pleasurable, leave it. Completely drop. So this ruchi is like that. It will put aside what is good, what is noble. It will make us a victim. And in this story we see that Suruchi, this king is very partial to Suruchi. And then he continues to ignore Suniti. Whenever, especially for a seeker, this is very important. This partiality towards Suruchi or sense enjoyments is what will bring our downfall. Guilt, regret, shame, fear, weakness, insecurity, all that will come because of this. Suniti, the path of righteousness, goodness, that path will only take us upwards. It will help us to evolve. It will give more mastery. It will free us from all the negativities, make us more stronger, help us to connect with the Supreme Lord, not neglect our duties. All that is the path that Suniti will take us through. And ultimately, it is only through the path of Suniti that realization of the truth will happen for a seeker, not through the path of Suruchi. And so here it is that Suniti and Suruchi, these are two wives. Again, very interesting it is, what are the names of their children? The child of Suruchi is called Uttam, and the child of Suniti is Dhruva. So Uttam, one meaning of Uttam, see, literal meaning and popular meaning is Uttam means best. But etymologically, one more meaning of Uttam is Ut means up, that indicates Ishvara. And Tama means ignorance. So Uttama means one who is ignorant of the self. So if the Jiva attached to this Suruchi and sense enjoyments, etc., that Jiva may attain very great things in the world. Uttam vastus they may get. Name, fame, power, position, everything, wealth, all glory one may have. Still there may be ignorance of that self. Uttama means that, ignorance of the self. And even those things that one is having are only perishable. So one has dropped the imperishable and one is going to lose the perishable. So one is left with what? What did I do of this human life? Nothing. Instead of exhausting karmas and realizing the divine, added more karmas, increased my karma baggage. So this Suruchi's child is called Uttam. Suniti's child is called Dhruva. A person who follows righteous path will finally come to Dhruva. Dhruva means imperishable. Dhruva also is a symbol of firm determination. But actually the word Dhruva in the Upanishads also, the word Dhruva is referring to that which is permanent. The Kathopanishad one line comes, Dhruvam adhruveshu iha na prarthayante. The wise people don't seek permanent happiness amidst impermanent temporary things. So Dhruva means the permanent, the imperishable, the absolute. Akshay also means that. So when we follow the path of righteousness, see the words, how beautiful they are. Suruchi, Suniti, Uttanapad, Uttam, Dhruva. They could have chosen any names also. Now, just because this connection is there does not mean the entire story is only symbolic and it never happened. That's another extreme we run into. The symbolism is no doubt brought about, but that does not necessarily mean this never happened. Like when we say Ram, Sarveshu Ramanteti Ramaha. Then Bhagwan Ram is symbol of knowledge, Lakshmanji is symbol of Vairagya, Sitaji symbol of peace or Bhakti. Does not mean Ram, Lakshman, Sita are symbolic and they never existed. So symbolism has its own place. Story has its own importance. Many times both these come together. Sometimes alone it is only a symbolic story. But most of the time it is combination of both. So here it is, the Dhruva, the word Dhruva, Suniti, the person who follows Niti will attain this state of immortality, absolute truth, permanent nature. So for a seeker, this is very, very important to understand. What does the seeker want? The seeker wants to realize oneness with the self. So for the seeker, Vilas will not take the seeker to the state of truth. Virakti only will take the seeker to the state of truth. Suruchi is the path of Bhog Vilas, enjoyment, indulgence. And Suniti is the path of Virakti, following righteousness, dropping the lower tendencies, rising above body identification, having devotion to Bhagavan, that. And that question, what is wrong with enjoyment? Why can't I enjoy also and do this? In the beginning, one may have those questions, but after some time, they will fall away. Because, like Bhagavan says in the 5th chapter, Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Whatever sense enjoyments are born out of sense contact, whether it is physical, mental or both, they all are womb of sorrow. Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate. They are only wombs of sorrow. In a womb, that fetus grows for 9 months and then comes out. Same way, initially when we enjoy some ice cream or we enjoy something, it appears that nothing happened. But that samskar is laid and that grows. Next time again I want ice cream. So that samskar will slowly become a deep vasana. I will become helplessly addicted and craving will be there. For that one has to work very hard. And the cycle of birth and death will continue. So it's a womb of sorrow. And they have beginning and end. Adyantavanta kaunteya, Bhagavan says this, 5th chapter of the Gita. Nateshu ramate buddha. The wise person doesn't engage in this. So initially one may say, and it's not that one will never enjoy anything, but that bhoga vritti, that vilasa, bhoga vilasa vritti is gone. If there is some food one eats, fine, one enjoys. But the mind is not, craving for it, or the impression is not created that this is equal to happiness. Nothing. It is there, one eats, one enjoys, moves away, moves ahead in life. The focus is not on this. Otherwise, our focus is on how to maximize enjoyment. Sadhak's focus is not on maximizing enjoyment. Sadhak's focus is on turning within, dropping the extrovertedness, turning within. So how can extrovertedness and introvertedness go together? They are opposite paths. One can't have a balance of both these. So whether one is a grahasthi or whether one is a sannyasi, if one wants self-realization, the path is renunciation. Only internal renunciation has to happen, 100%. Externally, depending on whatever circumstances, karma, etc., one does, that's a different matter. But internally, it has to happen. One can't say, I will continue to have bhoga vritti also and I will continue to have yoga vritti also. They both can't go together. Ram and Kam cannot go together. Bhoga and yoga cannot go together. Vilas and Virakti cannot go together. So that is why here it is. Now look at this another point in this story. Sunit, this is just for the sake of story. Uttanapad is the symbol of Jiva. Now this Jiva is the one who is as though balancing, he's trying to have balance between Suruchi and Suniti, but he's not able to do the idea, the attachment towards Suruchi is so much more powerful. So he's neglecting Suniti, which is what we do. Because of Suruchi, so many things we will neglect. Sadhana one will neglect, self-control one will neglect, dharma one will neglect, become adharmic also, become sometimes very selfish. That's what happens to Uttanapad now, you will see. So one who loves this Ruchi may not love necessarily Niti. One will ignore. And one who focuses on the Niti will drop the Ruchi. There's a difference. Now don't start thinking in terms of husband and wife, okay, there. That, oh, he should start neglecting Suruchi and he should pay attention to Suniti. That's why I said don't take that as a story part. Take this in the symbolic aspect. As a seeker, if I have more tendencies and I am leaning towards Suruchi, I will neglect Suniti. Means I will not be able to do justice to dharma, my duties, my sadhana, introvertedness, swadhyay. To the extent what I should be doing, I won't be able to do. Because some people will say, no, I'm doing both. I do every day one mala also and I enjoy in the world also everything. But you could do much more. If this attachment is not there, much more one can do. So one may not do justice enough, or one may do complete injustice and ignore also. So for a seeker, what is more important? One has seen this world of finitude, one has seen, and the purpose of going through all grahastha and everything is to see now what is there in this life that I have to depend on so much. It is all temporary. It comes, it goes, and we have no control over it. Some past karma, it will come, it will go. People come, people go. Objects change, technology changes, my body is changing, everything is going on, continuously changing. How much can I keep craving and running behind these temporary things? So a seeker has seen through. Then one starts properly focusing on Suniti. It is not neglecting or ignoring Suruchi, it is rising above Suruchi. That Ruchi is not there anymore. Like we have risen above childhood toys, one rises above. Nothing not required now. Why? So the pursuit of Uttam will reduce. Everything, has to be in a certain standard, and I must have this, I must have that, and that prestige and power and wealth and fame and glory. The mind which was hankering for it, that hankering stops. Or if one has done those things, dedicating it to the Lord, doing it in an attitude of karma yoga, that is the way to rise above it. In that one will enjoy also, see its limitation also, one will dedicate it to Bhagavan also and drop. That is called rising above Suruchi. Then one can seek Dhruva. So now that is the basic aspect of this. Now let us see what he says here further. Once what happened? Ekada Suruche Putram Ankamaropya Lalayan. Uttamam narurukshantam dhruvam rajabhya nandata. So this Suruchi's son Uttam, one day Uttanapad was sitting with Suruchi and this Uttam is there. Uttam is on his lap and he is playing with Uttam. He is loving Uttam. And that time Dhruva came and he saw. Now he also wanted to climb on to the lap of Uttanapad. But Uttanapad shunned him because of Suruchi. He didn't allow Dhruva to come up and sit on his lap. And looking at this, Suruchi got very angry. So what she says, Tatha chikirshamanam tam sankalpaya sapat nyas-tanayam dhruvam suruchish shanvato rajnyaha sershya garvita. To this Dhruva, who is her co-wife's son, Suruchi, she was very arrogant and very proud. She spoke such harsh words, and this king is just sitting and listening. He's not doing anything. What did she say? Na vatsandrapater dhishnyam bhava rodhum arhati na grahite maya yatvam kukshavapi nripatmajaha. He says, oh child, you are not fit to ascend this royal throne. Why? Because though you are the son of this king, you are not born through me. Look at that arrogance. Only her child is deserving. Suniti's child can't be deserving. Why? Just because she feels that, and I mean, king also, of course, is partial to her. So she feels she has all, she has actually the king under his control, under her control. And king is anyway neglecting Suniti. So she feels superior and she feels my child is more deserving. You are not deserving. You are born of that Suniti, and this king doesn't even care for Suniti. He has sent her away in that another palace. So, and you are born to her. You may be king's son, so the king's son, but so what? You don't deserve because you are not born through me. So she says, Balosi bata natmanam anya stri garbha sambhritam nunam veda bhavan yasya durlabherthe manorathaha. Says, you are just a child. You don't know that you are born through the womb of another woman. And that is why you are aspiring to get something which is difficult to attain. You are an undeserving fellow, but you don't know what you are, what is, where you are born from. So you are just striving for something that is very difficult and it is not even within your reach. Look at that kind of poison that she is, as though throwing at Dhruva. Pathetic. And then one more line, the worst comes now. Tapasaradhya purusham tasyaivaanu grahena me garbhe tvam sadhayatmanam yaditchasi nripasanam. Look at this absolute arrogance. She says that you go and first propitiate that Supreme Lord, that Supreme Purusha with lots of penance, austerity, etc. And in blessing, in the boons, seek to be born through my womb. If you want the king's throne, you should be born through my womb. Otherwise, you are not deserving. Height of arrogance. That she tells Dhruva to worship the Lord to be born in her womb. If one has to worship the Lord, why will one ask to be born through this womb of this lady? One can ask the kingdom directly also, through anybody else also. This is her absolute pride. So adharma and falsehood, this is what it is. And then dambha. All this, you can see the play here. So now when she told this, Dhruva felt very, very sad. And ahead it will come. He is only 5 years old. Can you imagine this lady telling such things to that 5-year-old? And this boy is very badly hurt. Not only because he was not able to sit on that lap of his father, but also that his father didn't stand up for him. His father didn't tell anything to Suruchi. And his father is not an ordinary person, he is the king. That king, if he cannot stand up for what is wrong for his own son, what will he do for the whole praja? See, the emotions, his attachment, and his bias towards Suruchi makes him a helpless victim. He's just sitting there, listening. And he doesn't tell anything to Suruchi. He doesn't even console Dhruva, and Dhruva is going. He doesn't even, go and hold him, hug him, tell him, console him. Nothing. He is going. And this man is sitting and watching. This entire episode is happening in front of him. That shows how deep is his attachment to Suruchi, that he cannot displease her, nor he has the guts to stand up against her. That is what attachment does. Strongest of people will become absolute weaklings. So Gnaneshwar Maharaj gives this example in the Gnaneshwari, in the first chapter of the Gita, when he's commenting. There he gives this example. The bee, the bee can sometimes drill through even hard wood and make a hole. But this bee, when it is attached to the smell of flowers, and it is sitting on the flowers and the nectar it is sipping, it knows that the flower is closing, but this attachment to nectar is so strong that it remains inside, gets trapped in the petals of the flower, which are very soft and gentle. But this attachment to that nectar does not allow that bee to come out. It dies there. He gives that example, saying strongest of people can become absolute weaklings. And Gurudev sometimes used to joke that somebody may be a big inspector or a commissioner of police and this and that, and wearing uniform and can command so many things, control the whole mob. But in front of his spouse, he becomes like a cat. So it's like that. When one is attached to sense enjoyments, when is attached to a person, when is attached to something, then one can't do niti. So did he do niti? As a father, he didn't do niti. As a king also, he didn't do niti. That's what happens when suniti is ignored. This mind of ours, the jiva, will live either in tamoguna, knowing well what is the duty, one does not do it, or being so attached, that is rajoguna, being so attached to the person or the sense enjoyment or a particular object, this mind keeps, becoming a victim, will not do the duties and becomes miserable. Later on, one will repent, one will feel guilty, shameful, regret, all that one will have. The only method to come out of this is rise to the level of sattva guna. That is a level of detachment, knowledge, balance, peace, vairagya, impartiality, all that is sattva guna. So this Uttanapad, when he didn't do anything, so Dhruva, he didn't get to sit on his lap of his own father. He was not asking something very, unfair. Small child wants to sit in the lap of his own father. What is wrong? So he couldn't sit in the lap of his father. His mother scolded him very badly. The stepmother scolded him very badly, made him feel absolutely unworthy for not having been born through her womb. And the king, his own father, forget the king, his own father also did not stand up for him, nor did his father console him. This is what Dhruva went through. Did Dhruva go to UN Human Rights Council and say that, my human rights were violated and abused and all that? Nothing. You see what the response is. Dhruva goes to his mother. He's a Kshatriya. He's a child of the king. So he has anger inside him. It's not that he is some, very goody person who will never ever get angry, such a pious person. So he felt very angry, he felt very sad, he was crying also, and he went. So the example given here is hissing in indignation like a serpent bitten with a staff. Dhruva left his father, who kept gazing mutely. Father was just mutely listening or watching. He didn't do anything. And so he went to his mother. Now, when Suniti saw that Dhruva has come and he's crying like this, immediately she lifted him and, in her arms, and very, very concerned she was, and she was asking him what happened. Now look at Dhruva. He does not want to criticize the stepmother. One may say that, okay, as a child he was so affected that he didn't want to speak at that point in time. That one possibility is there, because he doesn't tell the mother what happened. Mother makes enquiries, and the attendants in that place, in the palace, they find out everything, and then they come and tell her. But some commentators and kathakars, they will say, they say this, that Dhruva didn't want to criticize his mother, that Suruchi. That's the samskar that Suniti has also put in him. And if you see, Suniti also will not criticize Suruchi. So in Suniti's mind, the sattva guna that is there, she has ensured that those sattva guna samskars, those good values and qualities, she is able to impart to her son. So she does not criticize Suniti. Even after the attendants come and tell her, she doesn't criticize. So Dhruva doesn't tell, and the attendants find out, they tell everything, and Suniti comes to know. So Suniti definitely feels sad. It is not that she will not react at all to this. Though she may not have spoken ill about Suruchi, she still feels bad. So here it is said that, scorched by grief as a wild creeper by the forest fire, the young girl lost heart and cried. Her eyes, which were graceful as a pair of lotuses, were filled with tears as she recalled the remarks of his co-wife. How can Suniti say all these things? You don't deserve the throne. That child didn't want the throne. He just wanted to sit on the lap. And that you should have been born through my womb, and then go and pray to Bhagavan to be born through my womb next time. Then you will be deserving. Now she is recollecting this care. How can she say all this? Then she composes herself, and see what response she gives. 17th shloka here. Dirgham shwas. Tune is different. Dirgham shvasanti rajinasya parama apashyati balaka mahabala ma mangalam tata pareshu mamstha bhungte jano yat para dukkha dastataha dukkha dastat. See, first thing she says, don't entertain evil thought about others. Oh dear child. What we are going through is because of our own karma of the past. A man reaps in this very life the suffering he has inflicted on others in previous life. Some karma must be there in past life. Something between you and your Suruchi must be there, and the result you are experiencing now. So don't think evil of her, because that will increase the karmic connection. That is one important point to understand. We have seen this earlier also, that when we think negative about anybody, evil about anybody, we are thinking like that because we don't like that person, and we want that person to be, maybe sometimes we feel that they should be even hurt or harmed, or they should go through some loss, pain, sorrow. But because we don't like them, we don't want to connect or associate. But when I'm thinking negative like this, I'm increasing my karmic connections with them. So better not to do that and spoil my mood here also, and my life hereafter also. And to a 5-year-old, she's saying this, it must be some past. So don't blame Suruchi, don't condemn her. This is good samskar. Of course, here it is a personal choice also. In certain cases, if one has to go back and say, one can go back and say without feeling ill will against the opposite person. That is what Vedanta tells us. It's not that always somebody does wrong to us and we should not tell them anything. No, it's not like that. We can go and tell what we want to, be firm, assertive, polite about it, and in an impersonal way, a non-provocative way, one can go and tell also. But here she's making a personal choice. So she says that don't think of evil about others, and understand that if something has come in my life, it is some past karma only. So it is taking charge of one's life and not blaming others and not feeling like a victim. See, both these, Dhruva, at such a small young age, the mother is making him understand this. Don't think evil of others, don't blame them, and you don't become a victim also. Because when I start doing the blame game, then I will feel a victim. I feel helpless, and I will feel that wrong has been done to me, and I need sympathy, I need empathy, all that. This is saying that my life, what I'm experiencing is because of some karma of my past. Now, how to deal with this? Let me focus on that instead of brooding over why this happened to me, why I did not do anything wrong, yet this happened to me. Suniti is not brooding over it. That is why she is able to tell this to the child. Suniti knows that the husband is ignoring her, neglecting her. He has more preference to Suruchi, but she has accepted it. That is her mindset. And she has not swerved from the path of dharma. She is not feeling jealous of Suruchi. She is not trying to instigate and make Suniti suffer. Nor is she trying to do something to become more favorite of the king. None of that. If that's what the king wants to do, that is his choice. She has chosen another path, which is her sattvic path, and she is accepting. Again, I'm saying this is a personal choice. If somebody wants to do something else, that is their personal choice. Not that this alone is the ideal choice that everybody should make. In this story, it happens like that. She doesn't feel anything, and she is having a clear, objective mindset. She is focusing her energies more on herself, her evolution, her sadhana, etc. That's why she is able to tell this to the child. How much how important the mindset of the parent is. That will reflect in the child's life. Of course, child comes with their own karma, there's no doubt. But the influence of parent also is a part of the child and the parent's karma. Dongre Maharaj has written one very powerful shloka here. He's quoted one shloka. Source he has not given, but he has quoted the shloka here, where he says, one minute. So the shloka says here, Dushilo matra doshena, pitru doshena murkhata, Karpanyam vamsha doshena atma dosha daridrata. Please remember this shloka in a context, okay? This is not to blame. This is only to indicate certain things. If the conduct of the child is bad, Sheela is good conduct, Dushila is bad conduct. That is because the dosha in the mother's thinking and behavior, etc., may not be good. Pitru doshana murkhata. If the father's dosha is there, then the child may be a fool, may not study properly or may not gain proper knowledge or skills, whatever it may be. Karpanyam vamsha doshena and becomes a weakling, an escapist or a coward because of the dosha of the entire vamsha. And atma dosha daridrata. And if one does not take charge of one's own life, that is the fault in one's own self, one becomes miserable, poor, suffering. So the idea is, there are many factors for a child's life, but parents' factor is a very, very important factor. If the parent is strongly rooted, grounded in the values, it will transfer on to the child, irrespective of what the world is doing. So here it is that Dhruva is given the right direction. And he is not, the Suniti does not say that let us go to the king and protest and let us fight for our rights and let us ensure that we make this Suruchi pay for the suffering that she is inflicting upon us. None of that. So she says here that you don't entertain evil thoughts. It is because of some past. And then she says that it is true. Suruchi has truly said that you were born in the womb. You were born in the womb and brought up with the milk of my wretched self, whom the king feels ashamed to accept as his wife, nay, even as his servant maid. So that is what the king is doing, and what Suruchi said in that context is true, because the king is not even acknowledging me as a wife, as a servant maid. Forget as a wife. That's what she says. Then she says, of what she has said, you choose what is good. Because she said, pray to that Supreme Purusha. That good part, Suruchi, what she said, Suniti picked up saying, take that what she said. From all that, those harsh words that she said, this is something which is good that she said. She says that here. Atishta tat. Oh, that tune is different, huh? Atishta tat tat vimatsarastvam muktam samatrapi yadavyalekam आराधयाधोक्षज पाद पद्मम यदि इच्छसे ध्यासनमुत्तमो यथा. Very beautiful shloka that is. She says that you abide ungrudgingly by those words which, though uttered by your stepmother, are nonetheless true, and adore the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, if you aspire to ascend the royal throne like Uttama. He says, if you want the throne, pray to Bhagavan Vishnu. He will fulfill your desires. And that portion of her talk you take. She said, you pray to Lord Vishnu for being born through my womb. Suruchi, when she said this, Suniti has picked up only one part, saying, she said, pray to the Lord, but you change the purpose. You just pray to the Lord that you may be able to ascend on the throne. So this is the pursuit of Artha, the throne. and you want that throne, you pray to Bhagavan. So now please see one more point here. When people say don't ask God for anything, we should not ask God for anything, who said that? The mother only saying, and the Purana is saying here, that you want the throne, pray to Bhagavan. Nothing wrong in asking Bhagavan for anything material. Because anyway I'm going to ask the world, I'm going to approach people, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to find out who can help me in all this, and then I'm going to fulfill that desire. And then I will have the ego that I did it all by myself. Better it is to pray to Bhagavan and say, Bhagavan, I want this, please bless me with this. And when one does the effort, one remembers, this is by God's grace I'm putting the effort. And when one gets the result, one says, by God's grace only I got the result. And there is no ego then in that. So Suniti says, you pray to Bhagavan for this. Now, she says, it was by worshipping that Supreme Lord who assumed the quality of Sattva for the protection of the universe that Brahma attained to that most exalted position. Even Brahmaji, we remember we saw in the earlier part of Bhagavatam. Brahmaji sat quietly and he just heard the word tapa tapa. So he started doing tapasya. And Vishnu Bhagwan was pleased finally, and then he manifested, and Brahmaji had the darshan and the knowledge of Bhagavatam, Chatushloki Bhagavat, and all that we saw. So even Brahmaji got the position of Brahmaji only because of worship of Lord Vishnu, and he was able to take forward the creation also because of that Supreme Lord. And even your grandfather Manu, she gives that example of the Vamsha, the lineage also. That even your grandfather, the worshipful Manu, he got both earthly and heavenly bliss as well as the final beatitude, moksha, by worshipping the Lord with single-pointed devotion. So she says, therefore you take refuge in that Lord. This is one thing we should remember. Whatever material desires we may have, first pray to the Lord and every day seek from the Lord. And know very clearly that it is coming through Bhagavan only. That will keep us grounded and that will also keep us tuned to the Lord. Otherwise, one says, if you really desire something, then the whole universe will conspire to give it to you and all that stuff. What does that do to me? Even if my desire is fulfilled, I feel the whole universe conspired to fulfill my desire. It doesn't connect me to the divine. I may feel happy or grateful to people around who help me. That's a good thing. But the way the universe is able to fulfill that is because Bhagavan is a karma phaladata. The ichha that is rising in my mind is also happening because the Lord enlivens this body, mind, intellect. Then that mind has the ichha. Otherwise that ichha also will not arise. We will not become aware of that ichha also. So from the time that ichha is rising to whether it's a dharmic ichha or not, the buddhi can decide. And if it is a dharmic ichha, then one can pursue and seek it from the Lord and then put the efforts to get it. So very important to channelize the desires to Bhagavan before we come to desirelessness. And it is through this that Bhagavan's grace we will experience, and we will also know clearly that, oh, this is not a desire worth asking Bhagavan. I want somebody to be destroyed. That's not a desire worth asking Bhagavan. I want to do something illegal, immoral, hurtful, harmful. That is not worth asking Bhagavan. So the buddhi also will become sharp, alertness, vivek will happen. Of course, for that bhakti is required. Bhagavan, one should know that Bhagavan is real. And the connection with the Lord has to be that bhavna-oriented connection, not some mechanical thought process, or just to think that God is some power, God is some energy, or to deny God and say that the universe I believe in, nature I believe in, nature is doing all this, I don't need any God. Then these feelings will not come. Then this bhavana will not come. And then that is the way the desires will keep multiplying. If I connect to the Lord and I say, Bhagavan, I seek this, will it not be at some point I will also think that how much can I keep asking Bhagavan? Even without asking, Bhagavan is giving so much. Another thought will also come, what did I give to Bhagavan? I am only taking continuously. What did I give? How did I serve the Lord? What am I doing when He is doing so much for me? All this is bhavana. All this is the feeling. And all this will purify the mind. It will give us strength in sadhana also and in vyavahar also. Look at Suniti's life. That is a big example for it or not. Though the situation is very provocative and it is a conducive situation for a family fight to happen, and she could have easily put her husband into a dilemma saying, you choose her or me properly, once and for all you decide. I leave. Bye bye. Finished. She could have done any of that. She chose to give a sattvic response. So the situation may be provocative where people do things nasty against us, but as a sadhak, we have choices to make. We can make our sattvic choices and it will lead to good. You see, ultimately what happens? Dhruva attains that Dhruva pada and he gets the kingdom also here. And he got darshan of Bhagavan also. I mean, what more does Dhruva want? So when we think that, oh, we allowed them to get away with it and, we didn't say, again, I'm saying it is a choice that individual is making. If I need to get back, I should get back also. In a sattvic way, in a polite, non-personal way. But not necessarily all the time I have to react only. And only then I am, defending myself or I am standing up for myself. By making the sattvic choices also, I stand up for myself because that is in my interest, in my spiritual evolution. For my spiritual evolution, it is important. And I choose to let go. That somebody made a nasty comment. What do I have to do against that? Why do I have to prove to Suruchi that why is it that your womb only is worthy and the child born through me is not worthy? I don't have to prove anything to anybody. So Suniti takes that sattvic choice and she says, you pray to Bhagavan. From what she said, all that you rest of it, all you ignore, just take that one, pray to Bhagavan, directly ask Bhagavan for the throne. And you will get that throne which is even greater than this. So she says that I find none other than the Lord with lotus-like eyes who can wipe out your sorrow. Even Shri, meaning Mother Lakshmi, who is eagerly sought by all others, she seeks him with a lotus in her hands. So go, Dhruva, you go and seek Bhagavan. This is what she says. So for today, we will stop here. And Dhruva, when he heard this, he also does not hesitate. He says, my mother said, go and pray to the Lord. And he sets out to go to the forest. Very interesting. The mother here is sending the child to the forest, 5-year-old child. Okay. This is called operating from strength. She didn't victimize herself. She didn't make the child feel that you are a victim. And she did not indulge in blame game, nor did she react. And she had the clarity to say that whatever happens to us is because of our past life. So let us take charge of our life and our responses. No point in blaming. And from what people said, we should take what is appropriate, leave the rest of it. She said, worship the Lord. That's a good point, very good point. Now go, worship. She didn't have a false ego saying, Suruchi said such and such things, and how dare she say things, and I am going to do exactly opposite of what she said. I am going to make her feel bad for what she said. None of that. She didn't have the ego to say that, how can I take out something good from what she said? These are all good qualities. Even if somebody who has hurt us has said something which is correct or which is beneficial or important, there's nothing wrong in taking. If that's what is helping to evolve, there's nothing wrong in taking that. That point is evaluated at its merit, not because who said it. Because I don't like somebody who said it, even if the point is full of merit, I will avoid. Then that is operating out of ego. So for today, that's where we will stop. Any questions? Okay, so let's do the arati.
मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल कांति हसनी दसनन की, मंगल मुरली दीना धुन की, मंगल आरती। मंगल बनिक त्रिभंगी हरि की, मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की, मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की, मंगल छवि नयन में अटकी, मंगल आरती। पभी अंग अंग की, मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की, मंगल अति कटि पियरे पट की, मंगल चितवनी नागर नट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की, मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की, मंगल वृंदावन मद अटकी, मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की, मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की, मंगल जुगल प्रिया भावन की, मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की, मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति डोल की, मंगल आरती। मंगल आरती। राधावर कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम्, नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतो यमग्निः, तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं, तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।